Hello, happy Thursday, sunshine. We are back this week with another back to business basics lesson, for lack of a better word. Just really going back and understanding what good business basics are. I don't mean good as in right or wrong. I mean truly just let's go back to like a business 101 kind of style class. So today we are talking about what marketing strategy really is. If you tuned in last week or checked out my profile, I talked about what a strategy is versus what a distribution channel is, because those two words are incorrectly interchangeably used. Today we're going to dig deeper into what strategy is. So if you've got any questions along the way, if you're here with me live, stick them in the chat box. If you were catching the replay of this, stick it in the comment box or send me a DM. Anything that you've got going on, let's talk about it. Because understanding what a business marketing strategy is and what it isn't is really going to help you set yours up for more success in whatever that success looks like for you. So this is not a lesson on the strategies that's going to make you $5,000 or get you your next client or anything like that. We're not pushing anything. We're just really explaining what strategy is so that all entrepreneurs have a really solid, strong understanding that is factually accurate. So, marketing strategy is one part of your business strategy. We'll get into the other parts in the upcoming weeks. That's what I'm building up to. So marketing strategy then has in marketing plans, which then have in marketing strategies. See how already just talking about what is included in a marketing strategy can get really confusing. So I wrote out this super fancy little diagram for you. So what we're talking about is this overarching marketing strategy, the 30,000 foot look at your business of how you are accomplishing the goals. So that top level marketing strategy, that talks about what it is that you are building, not the products, not the daily action plans. We'll get there. But first and foremost, you really want to set yourself up for success by building out, by theorizing, by writing down, by creating some kind of documentation that does not have to be fancy, right? I'm thinking here a marker on the back of my scrap paper kind of thing. A Google Doc, a Word doc, nothing super fancy, but a vision. Where are you going? What are you building towards? Your entire business here. A lot of the confusion around marketing strategy is the way that it's used. It is kind of clunky in general, but I think that in this online digital space, we've really just been using any old word without understanding what it is. And this is why I'm having these back to business basics IG Live series, is to understand what it is we're talking about, to take a lot of that confusion out. Because when we can understand something, when we can have, hey Jenna, when we can have clarity around what it is, it helps us be more successful and turn off that inner critic a little bit more easily. So what we're talking about right now is that 30,000 foot high up marketing strategy that you have for your business. So when we talk about it, we're talking about your business as a whole. We are not talking about, at this point in time, we're not talking about a product, a service, an offer that you have. We are talking about your business as a whole. So I'm going to use mine as an example. I know mine very well. My overall marketing strategy is to create a community for fiercely ambitious women entrepreneurs to come together to build their own businesses sustainably and authentically while loving their entire lives. That's what my business is set up to do. That's my overall, that's where I'm going, right? That's my roadmap when I create anything in my business, is how does it support that mission? So if the overall marketing strategy for your business is the very high level kind of where are you going, what are you building out in the future, that underneath it, right, tucked inside of that is where we go back to this and we talk about the marketing plan. The marketing plan is really what I find most online coaches or industry experts or whatever you want to call them are talking about when they say strategy. A marketing plan is going to be specific and customized, tailored to the product offering, right? That's where you start to say, okay, I'm a business coach. I have my Elevate membership. That is targeted, to blah, 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 blah. And the marketing plan is where you get into all of the tactics, all of the action steps, all of the implementable check off boxes, metrics, etc. What we're talking about today is that higher level 30,000 foot marketing strategy. So I just gave you my kind of one sentence, very long run-on sentence, one sentence high level marketing strategy, but there's more to it. And the reason why I am so passionate about teaching this is because there are bits and pieces that are taught really well, and there are bits and pieces that really aren't discussed. And again, we can't build well-structured businesses if we don't have a full understanding of how to run it. So there are 5 key components of that high-level marketing strategy. The first one is vision. What are you building? What are you creating? What is the destination in mind when you think of, it's gonna feel so good to know that in X amount of time, I built XYZ. What is your soul calling? What is your heart calling to you? What is it that you are creating or building? That's the first part, is getting really clear on that vision. Now, when you don't have clarity on this, it's not a bad thing, right? We are in business to learn, to grow, evolve. As we grow as human beings, our businesses grow. So it's never a bad thing if you don't have all of this information, but it's helpful when you do. So when you have a clear vision of where you're going, of what you're building, it's much easier to make sure that any offer idea, any platform that you decide, any distribution channel, anything that you decide upon really fits in with that overarching vision that you're creating. It helps you have clarity so that you're not getting distracted in all these things. I'll give you a personal example. A couple of years ago, I got certified as a Reiki practitioner. I did it for my dogs. I had no interest in doing it for other people. It wasn't a part of my business. Okay. It just kicked me out because of my internet, so I'm not quite sure where that stopped, but I'm going to keep going. So I got my Reiki level 1 practitioner, and that wasn't really meant, I didn't do that for my business. I did that for my dogs. Full transparency, did it for my dogs. So after a couple months, I thought, oh, let me start offering Reiki sessions. So I put it on my website. I started to talk about it, but it didn't fit in with that vision. So it was really clunky. It was weird to talk about. My customers were really confused of why this life coach is all of a sudden talking about Reiki when I had never done it before. And it's because I didn't have my vision clear. I was just throwing shit on the wall. I can't talk today. Throwing shit on the walls, hoping it would stick. And when we do that, it's messier. It's a lot more frustrating. And it's confusing for ourselves and our clients, our community, our audience. When you have that vision, it's a lot easier to stay focused. When you have that 30,000 foot vision that you're going to, it's almost like having blinders on in a really helpful way that allow you to stay in your lane and say no to things that are not aligned. So that's the first component, is that business vision. The second component is business goals. So it's short, medium, and long-term goals. Now, there are good estimates of a short-term goal is anything within 12 months, a medium term is anything between 12 and 36 months or 1 to 3 years, and a long-term goal is anything after that. That works really well for traditional businesses where you have like a large corporation, where you've got not just one person. Don't get too hung up at this point on what is short-term, what is medium-term, what is long-term. That's something that comes a little bit later. But when you can create business goals, it takes that vision, right? We're building a community to support fiercely ambitious women entrepreneurs. And then we narrow it down a little bit more and say, okay, in the short term, let's not even put a time frame on it. In the short term, that looks like really focusing on brand awareness. In the medium term, once the brand awareness is there, it's really focused upon creating that interactive, in-person, virtual, global community. And then long term, it's about creating an entire suite of everything that women entrepreneurs could possibly need, right? See how the short term, medium term, and long term all build off of each other, but they all reside underneath the umbrella of that vision. That's what our goals can do for us. And that's the benefit of setting goals, is again, helping you put those blinders on so that you can stay in your lane in the most helpful, beautiful way of staying in your lane so that you're not getting distracted by all these things. An example here would be, let's say that you are brand new to business. You've been in business less than 6 months. You don't have a really strong following. You haven't really dialed in your messaging. You're still kind of figuring out what this whole business world is, right? It's a crazy, crazy world. You're trying to get your feet. And you say, I want to go out there and build out 17 different courses on 15 different platforms and a podcast and a TV show and a radio show and a retreat center and a this and a that, and you have all these ideas. That's awesome. Keep your ideas. Keep them going. But there's a time and a place. Having short, medium, and long-term goals gives us more information for that roadmap, so we know not only is this their end destination, but these are some milestones along the way. Holy moly, I'd get overwhelmed. Exactly. But when we can say, hey, yes, I have this, let's pick one, right? I have this idea for a retreat center. That's not a right now goal. It doesn't mean that you don't work on it, but it means that you work on it later. It goes into the bucket of long term. It goes into the bucket of, if you've ever heard me talk about my now, soon, and later buckets, it goes into the later bucket. It's something that you put down, you write down, you put it on your tracker or your file or however it is you organize it. We can talk about that a different day. But you're not forgetting about it. You're not ignoring it. You're not letting it go. But you're putting it in the time and place. But if you don't have your goal set of short term, medium term, and long term, your brain, being the crazy brain that we all have as humans, is going to tell you, I have to work on that right now. I need to stop doing the business basics that I'm doing, whatever it is that you're doing right now. And I need to work on this idea right now. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Yep, exactly, Jenna. It is exactly what you and I talked about yesterday. That is a longer term goal. So it's something that we're going to absolutely work on, but it's not something for right now. Yep, that is 100% correct. So give me a second. That's the second part, is business goals. The third part, as I look at my notes to make sure I have them in order, The third part, the third component of that high-level marketing strategy is knowing your target market. You might be more used to this being called your ideal client avatar, things like that. It's all the same thing. Your target market is who is that dream person that is the best fit for whatever it is you offer. Who are they? Get to know what their needs are, what their wants are, what they're looking for, right? Understand, yes, their pain points. What are they dreaming of? What is it that would just make them so happy, right? Understanding your target market is essential to creating a strategy. Let's go back to my example. If I am creating a community for fiercely ambitious women entrepreneurs, I need to understand, what does fiercely ambitious mean? How am I defining women entrepreneurs? What do I define by entrepreneur, right? Really understanding the basics from that point of view, but also going deeper than that. And I do think that this industry, this online coaching industry, does a really, really good job about teaching ICAs and ideal client avatars. It's not perfect, but I think it does a really solid job of it. You can Google in and get hundreds of millions of results back of how to identify your ideal client. But at the end of the day, it's really understanding what makes them tick, what makes them cry, what makes them passionate, what gets them excited, what they are building themselves. I need to know that my women, the women that I work with, show up for themselves, do the work, are willing to try things. I also, on the flip side, need to know that my women do not take bullshit, right? They are fiercely ambitious. They are doing what needs to be done for their goals. And that helps me not only have a clear idea of who it is I'm working with, it gives me a very clear idea of who I'm not working with, which then helps me with my messaging, with my product creation, with how I show up in the world, right? This is what you get today, guys. This is no makeup. This is natural Chrissy. Because my target market does not need me to be super glamorous. Does not give two shits if I am dolled up. That is going to turn some people off. And that's great. Those aren't my people. Just like with you, knowing your target market, knowing them really, really well is essential to having sanity, first and foremost, but also in understanding if what you're building is applicable, is aligned. So that's the third part, is that target market. The fourth thing is value proposition. What sets your company apart from everybody else? And remember, we're working off that 30,000 foot marketing strategy. I'm not talking about what sets your what sets your product or your service aside from everyone else. We're not there yet. We're not talking about a particular product. We're talking about your business, which for a lot of us, our businesses are us. There is nothing else, right? We're service-based. A lot of what we do is one-on-one or one-to-many, but it's personal branding. This can be really tricky for a lot of entrepreneurs because it is not what's the value of that coaching package, what's the value of that DIY course that you're building. What sets you and your business apart? So Jenna, for you, because you're right here, what sets you apart as a registered dietitian from somebody else? What is special about you? What is your magic that you bring to the table? That's what we're building out here, and that's what we want to dig up. What makes it difficult, or what can make it difficult, is we're humans. We have this really loud, really obnoxious inner critic that says, you're not special. Everybody has the same title. You have regular credentials. None of what you did in your corporate life applies to this. You're a stay-at-home mom. You're brand new. You don't have experience. Our inner critic is really fabulous at being loud and obnoxious and keeping us safe. Safe means we don't grow and expand. Safe means we stay exactly where we are and what is known. So when we talk about value proposition in line with that 30,000 foot marketing strategy, it's really getting clear on what are your credentials? Jenna, I love you. Yes, that inner critic is a bitch. We want to get really clear on what are our credentials, right? Whether you market yourself with them or not is one thing. What's your experience? And I don't mean just simply what are the letters after your name. Those are helpful and they are a part of you, but that's one aspect. What are all of the experiences that you have had in life across the board? Whether it's work experience, personal experience, volunteer experience, whatever it is, what is all of the knowledge, the wisdom, the skills, the experiences that you are bringing from whatever has happened in your life into the here and now, into your business, that sets you apart? And that can bring up a lot of mindset stuff. That can bring up a lot of self-doubt and fear and all of that, which is why this is one of the most overlooked parts when you are building out your business marketing strategy, is what makes you different, what makes you special, and doing a lot of that deep diving work. Now, I talked a little bit before about how I do think that this online industry, online coaching world, whatever it is, teaches really well on ideal client avatar. In a lot of that training on ideal client avatar, or if you've taken any training on like content pillars, you'll often dig into like, what's your story? What are some things that you want to talk about, etc. So you may have already done some of this work of what sets you apart, but really dig deeper. Another benefit to doing this work ahead of time is the fact that when you have a day where that inner critic will not shut up, is louder than anything else, you can go back to your marketing strategy and read this section on value proposition. Give yourself that ego boost, that confidence boost that goes, whew, okay, I just read that 2-paragraph section and I feel better about myself. Now, truth be told, some days it's not going to matter. That inner critic is still going to be louder than everything else, but at least you know this is what sets me apart. And then add to it over time. We'll talk more about this at the end, but your marketing strategy is a living strategy. It is living and breathing and needs to be adjusted as time goes on. Every single part of it, which includes updating your value proposition. If you had a really different experience, if you had a different kind of client that you worked with, that you helped them with a new problem or a new obstacle, if you have a new certification, if you have learned something along the way that adds to that value proposition, stick it in there. Add it to your marketing strategy. Let's keep this living and breathing and updated. So I want to go back to the comment. Yes, Jenna, that is fantastic. Those are absolutely some of the things that are part of your value proposition. Compassion, eating disorder history, being in a bigger body, those are things that all set you apart from other registered dietitians. Those are all parts of your amazing value proposition. So yes. And I know you personally, I know that there is more to it, but those are 3 really great examples of what makes you different, what some of your magic is, and why you are such a perfect fit for certain clients. I love that. Thank you. Okay, and then the last piece, the 5th component of our marketing strategy is our competition. We need to understand what the industry or our niche landscape looks like. Now, I personally don't believe that we're necessarily competing with one another. There is a lot of talk right now on social media, especially Instagram, it seems like, around like, oh, we're not competing, we're collaborating, and blah, blah. I'm here for it. Yep, I really genuinely don't think that we are competing with one another. And as helpful a mindset that is, we do need to know what our industry landscape looks like. So I'm using competitors in that very technical sense of the term of who is doing something similar to what you're doing. And the reason we want to know this, there are a couple of them. One, so we see what's out there. We want to keep our blinders on and we want to stay in our lane, but we also need to know like what's happening, right? Like what's in the lane next to us? What's the thing that's happening? We need to be aware, right? At the end of the day, we just need to be aware. And then the second big thing that knowing our competition helps us with is understanding what our clients or our customers, what our target market is used to. So I'm a business coach, right? So I know the vast majority of online small business owners or solopreneurs are used to hearing certain business terms differently than others. Kind of what I'm doing here with this Back to Business Basics series right now is resetting some of that terminology. I know based upon what a lot of other business coaches in the social media world coach on, most people understand ideal client avatar more quickly than they understand target market. I understand that a lot of people who are looking for business strategy support are very much looking for a 10 steps to this or 5 steps to $5,000 months or how to get the next 3 clients with a very detailed out ding, 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 ding. And if I check off all the boxes, I get there. That's what a lot of people are used to with business coaching. They're also used to a lot of cold DMs or pressures or things that are very like heavy-handed, you have to do it my way or you're wrong kind of shit. Knowing that that is what my ideal client is used to gives me insight into understanding how I can position myself differently because I disagree with all of that nonsense. And what kind of uphill battle I might have. Now, that is my example. It can also be the flip side of, let's say, I'm not, but let's say I was a business coach who is just like selling dreams in a bottle, right? If you follow these 10 steps, it guarantees you $5,000. Let's pretend for shits and giggles that I was that. I would have a really easy time going out there and marketing to a lot of solopreneurs and smaller businesses because that's what they're used to seeing. Having a strong understanding of your competitors helps you understand as well, how are they marketing? What tactics are they using? What platforms are they on? What messaging are they using? What branding are they using? What is my ideal client already used to? What is my target market expecting? What needs to have more explanation around it? What can I go out and be like, here's a Post-it. Who wants my Post-it? I don't have to explain what a Post-it is to anybody. Not at all. I don't even have like a good example. Whereas it's one thing to be like, here's a Post-it. Everyone knows what this is. I don't have to explain the benefits of it. I can just go out and sell it. Here is a Cinnabar Tower crystal. Way fewer people know what this is. Way fewer people are going to just buy this without explanation. I need to sell this very, very differently than I need to sell this. This is easy. This is common. This is known. This needs more explanation. This is going to take more time to sell. More information must be known. More of a relationship must be built. This is transactional. This is easy. This doesn't need relationship. This needs proof, needs social proof, needs confidence, needs an understanding of who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm here. This does not. So that's one really simple, silly example. But when we know who our competition is, when we know what they're doing, how they're doing, why they're doing, and we can understand how our customers are responding to that, it helps us dial in on how we do and do not want to show up, how we do and do not or can and cannot easily talk about things and sell things. Let me read the comments. Jenna says, for me, competitors are standard, typical weight loss registered dietitians, or are they other weight inclusive, intuitive eating people? I would say for you, Jenna, they are both. Your more direct competitors are going to be weight inclusive, i.e., because that is more targeted to the people that you help. But I would include all of them for you, because when you go out and talk about, oh, I'm a registered dietitian, I can help women, as you and I have talked about, there's a lot of conditioning around diets and trends and weight and like the number, right? The poundage. That is information that you need, because as much as that's not how you show up as a registered dietitian, that's what your target market is conditioned to, just based on society. So I would say both of those are your competition, but the ones that are weight inclusive and IE are your direct competitors, because they understand that weight is not a measurement of your worth, that weight doesn't, all the things that we've talked about, and they are much more inclusive, right? And they understand the intuitive eating side. Does that answer your question? It is both. Your direct competitors is that smaller group, and your kind of indirect or larger grouping of competitors is going to be everybody else. Let me know if that makes sense. Cool beans. Okay, so I'm going to recap because that was a lot of information. We are talking about today that high level, 30,000 foot up in the air, that CEO level, right? Like you are the business owner, marketing strategy. Your marketing strategy is, where are you going? What is it that you are building out? It has 5 key components to it. Your vision, that destination, right? Where are you going? Where do you set the GPS to? It has your business goals, your short, medium, and long-term goals. What are the mile markers along the way? Where are we going? Vision. And then where are we stopping along the way? Right? What rest stops are we using along the way? Then we've got our target market. Who are we working with? Who are we selling to? Who are we building for? Who are we creating for? Then we've got the value proposition of what sets us apart, what makes us special, why us versus somebody else, versus another business. And then the 5th one is competitors. What are those other businesses? When you say value proposition, we're not comparing a business coach to a construction worker. We are building very different things. We're comparing business to business to business to business. So, vision, goals, target market, value proposition, and competitors. That all goes into your overall marketing strategy. Now, if you Google business marketing strategy. First of all, you're going to get a lot of information that talks about marketing plans and tactics and action steps and the things that I really talked about at the beginning of this. It doesn't talk about that high level. It can get very, very confusing. Again, we're going to go back to this diagram. We are talking about this right here. Actually, let me put something behind it so it's easier to see. That's a little bit easier. So this marketing strategy, on the next business basics, we're going to talk about a marketing plan and then what goes into all of that. But when you Google or search for like a template or a format or how do I build this, which absolutely, like, go for it. You're going to get a lot of really formal, professional, can often be overwhelming in its intimidation. Your marketing strategy does not have to be this big, long 10-page document that's perfectly formatted that looks like a corporation's marketing strategy. I firmly believe that every business benefits from having a 30,000 foot up marketing strategy, because it is that GPS. It is that where are we going? What are we doing along the way, right? What are the milestones along the way? But it does not have to be fancy. It can be a written out piece of paper that you have somewhere that you know where it is and can go back to. It can be a Word document, a Google document. It can be anything you want that has time spent on it. This is not something that you can easily just be like, oh, I can whip this out in 5 minutes. I know what it is. You really want to spend the time setting up what your vision is, getting really clear on it. Again, there are benefits to understanding and working through each one of these components. They build on each other and they help you stay in your lane in that really supportive way of not getting distracted by things that are not ultimately going to serve you in the end. We all have a lot of skills. We can all do a lot of different things, but I'm a really good baker. I had a bakery for a couple years. Me being really good at creating cupcakes does do nothing for my business skills. So by me knowing that I am creating a community for fiercely ambitious women entrepreneurs, they don't really care that I can bake. I'm not really going to talk about that except in examples to prove my point. It helps me keep the blinders on and stay focused on what I am building. And that's why it's important to really put time aside to thinking of these basics so that you can stay clear, so that you can stay focused, so that you can stay in your lane in that really beautiful, supportive way. Another thing, and I mentioned this briefly in the middle, excuse me, is this is a living, breathing document. This is something that gets adjusted, that gets tweaked, that gets examined at least, like bare minimum, at least once a year. That you can go back to it and say, am I still working towards what I said my vision was? Have I created products that no longer align? Did I get off track? Did I get distracted? Am I focusing on a long-term goal too much? Is it detracting from my short-term goals? So in addition to, I highly encourage and very much want you to set time aside to go through these 5 components and write it down, really think through the whole process and do the work behind it. I also want you to go back to it, because you writing something once and never going back to it does not help you. Excuse me. We want this roadmap, right? We're building out where we're going. We want this roadmap to be useful to us. Otherwise, it's really kind of a waste of time. So go back to it. I really think that one of the best ways to utilize this is every time you start to work on a new project. And I mean project, not product. Anytime you start to work on a new project, whether that is rebranding, whether that is creating a new product, whether that is a new collaboration, whether that is a new marketing plan. Anytime that you start on a new project, go back to that marketing strategy. Make sure that it is aligned with where you're going. Make sure that it is targeting your target market, that it is showcasing your value proposition. Take a look at how your competitor landscape can influence what that project is. Where does that project fit in with your goals? Is it something that does need to get done right now? Is it something that can wait a little bit longer? Any big project. I don't mean like I'm gonna add a small something. I don't know. Can't even think of an example right now. Anytime you start a new project, go back to that marketing strategy and see if it aligns. See if it makes sense. And if it doesn't, that project does not need to get done. So we covered a lot today. Jenna, if you've got any questions with me live, drop them in now. If anyone catches the replay and you guys have questions, stick it in the comment box or send me a DM. This is really helpful information in building well-structured businesses that help you in the long run. This is not, full transparency, this is not something that once you do it, everything is magically perfect and amazing and easy. But again, it has really long-lasting impacts and benefits to doing the work. Any questions, stick them in the comment box, send me a DM. I will be back early next week with a back to business basics talk on what a marketing plan is. Because now that we have that 30,000 foot strategy of where our business is going, now let's get into the how. Everything we talked about today is about the what and the who and the why, but it didn't talk about the how, because that's where your marketing plan comes into play. Stay tuned for that one. That will be early next week. If you've got any questions, drop them below and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, guys.